Today's episode is a powerful reminder that our greatest challenges can become the very foundation of our greatest impact. Today's guest, Lisa Stephen, is the co-founder and executive director of Hope House, Colorado. It's an award-winning organization that's been transforming the lives of teen moms for over 28 years. Under her leadership, it's turned into a $4.7 million powerhouse with 2 debt-free buildings and national recognition for their work. Her story did not begin in a boardroom. She navigated adversity, discovered faith, and ultimately answered a calling that would help thousands of young moms find stability, community, and purpose. What I love about our conversation today is that she's taking us behind the scenes of writing her book, A Place to Belong, the true story of a teen mom, and how it really fueled, her lived experience fueled a movement to break the cycle of generational poverty. So you'll hear really some fun, bold steps that she's taken to get her book into the hands of the right people and how it's opened new doors for both her organization and her voice as a nonprofit leader. If you have ever wondered whether your story matters, this conversation is a great one. Hope you enjoy.
We happen to have had the most beautiful and amazing woman who has now passed away named Donna Weiner, who was one of our champions. She offered to help write the story of Hope House. And so I had given her my journals. I had never given my journals to anyone. Eventually, after like 2 years, she was just like, Lisa, I'm a journalist by trade. I write in vignettes. I just can't do it. About a year later, her husband, he called me and said, we want to give you $25,000 to write this book. We want to see this happen. Like, that's going to be part of our legacy, is telling this story.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Missions to Movements. Today's guest is an absolute powerhouse in the nonprofit space. Lisa has spent more than 28 years championing and empowering teen moms. She's the co-founder and executive director of Hope House, Colorado, where her leadership has transformed the organization into a national standout. They have 2 debt-free buildings, a multi-million-dollar budget, and recognition that includes multiple awards. But I think what's most inspiring about you, Lisa, is that your journey began as a teen mom yourself. And you've not only built a really thriving organization, but that you've truly built a movement over the years. And so Missions to Movements, that's what it's all about. You are also a fellow author of A Place to Belong and a co-founder of several initiatives that support young moms and nonprofit leaders. So Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here. This is awesome.
Yes. And I love having a fellow author on the show. And one of the key topics that I love to discuss is personal branding and thought leadership, especially for nonprofit professionals and leaders in their organizations. And last year, I had my publisher, my hybrid publisher, on the show to really talk about the process of book making. But I think it's a whole other thing to hear specifically from somebody who's gone through it at the nonprofit level. What inspired you to write A Place to Belong?
Oh, wow. So that is a really big question. One of the big things about my book, the sort of the point of the book, is what happens if you say yes to God? Like, I lead a faith-based organization, and it was the beginning journey of Hope House. I mean, I literally still today, my background is I worked at JCPenney's and I did home daycare. So it's not like I had the credentials.
Oh, thank you so much for that. My daughter goes to a home daycare and I love her teacher.
Yes. I mean, I learned a lot doing home daycare for sure, but I didn't. And I actually did kind of learn something about running your own small business from home, but it wasn't like I had all the right credentials or tools or degrees or things behind me to start a nonprofit. So part of the reason for writing the book was like, okay, I don't feel equipped for this. I don't feel like I have the right tools or credentials for this, but I strongly feel that it's something that I'm being called to do, because there literally was nowhere in the state of Colorado for a teen mother to go if she were already parenting a child. We only had maternity homes where you could go if you were pregnant. And so it was a huge leap to say yes to God, to do something that was completely out of my depth. Like, I had no nonprofit background. I'd never managed people. I didn't know what a budget was, like any of those things. But I knew that I was being called to do this, and I just had to trust that God would equip me to do that. And he did by surrounding me with like the most amazing people. So part of the point of the book is what happens if you say yes to God.
Mm.
And then actually saying yes to writing the book was a whole nother thing where I was like, I'm not equipped. I don't know
I feel
how.
I feel you on that.
I don't have time. Like, why would you ask me to do this other than, yes, I would love to share about all the many miracles that God has done along the way at Hope House. And I absolutely love telling the stories of our teenage moms and their ability to overcome and to, they're so strong and so powerful and determined and brave and
Mm.
just problem solvers. And they'll do literally leap tall buildings to create a better life for their child. So I love telling those stories. I also knew kind of deep down that I would have to tell my own story to tell the story of Hope House. And that I was not so okay with. That I was like, really, God, I don't think so. That just doesn't seem comfortable. And I'm not into that. So took me a while to say yes to writing the book, but eventually my husband, one of my board members who happens to be a pastor, and he is very kind of shook his finger at me and he's like, you've got to write this story. You've got to tell the stories of what God has done. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I've got to do it. So I finally said yes, but it took a while.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. When did the book come out?
Came out in June of last year, 2024.
Oh, so super recent. Okay.
Yeah.
I always like asking, how long did it take you from you said yes to the process of writing it? Did you self-publish? Did you have a publisher? Did you hybrid? What was that experience like?
Yeah. So long. I joke with so we have a ghostwriter, Susie Flory, who is absolutely amazing. I love her so much. I joke with her that I'm probably the longest like storyteller she ever had to work with. I'm sure no one has ever taken so long to write a book as I did. So it took 6 years to
Wow.
write the book, primarily because we kept building buildings at Hope House. So I have, this like big full-time job of running this organization and continuing to grow it and kind of trying to do this
Amazing.
writing on the side. And I initially thought when we hired our ghostwriter that like she would magically know my voice and she would do the writing, and she is magical at knowing someone's voice. But it turned out I do love to write and I really wanted to do the writing myself. So she did a lot of the direction and polishing, but primarily what she did that I could not have done without her is she built the story arc. So
Yes.
it took like
So important.
3 days for us to sit down together and for her to help me pull out like I have 20 years or more than 20 years worth of journals of all this amazing stuff that's
Wow.
happened at Hope House and all these crazy stories of our moms. But where do you even start?
Right.
Like when you have 20 years worth of stuff, like who's important, what's important, how do you pull that out? And then she helped me add color to it. So it would not have gotten written without our ghostwriter. In the title, she says, by Lisa Stephen with Susie Flory. So I say it's sort of by Susie Flory as well. But
I agree. I had somebody work with me on the outline and it was magic to watch how
yeah,
their brain worked. And I thought it was going to be written one way. Nope. Completely different. And I was like, this makes
yes,
way more logical sense. That
yes.
you just can't see it when you're like the creative and all the stories that are in your mind. That's amazing. Is your donation page leaking donors? According to iDonate, roughly 89% of visitors leave your donation page without giving. That's not a traffic problem, that's a conversion gap. iDonate's new pop-up donation form is built to fix the CVR gap. It's mobile first, moment driven, and appears right when inspiration strikes on blogs, campaign pages, or stories. More donors, same traffic, less friction. iDonate lets you control the strategy, the voice, and the design. To see it in action, you can launch a demo at idonate.com or click the direct link in the show notes. You talked a little bit about finding the time to write a book as somebody who has a full-time job, and you talked about building buildings, which I want to dive into a little bit here. What was that balance? Like, how did you actually structure the time? I know it took 6 years, but did you really like hone down a year or a block of time to write, or was it in the evenings? Like, if the listener is another leader that is wanting to do this, like, what would you recommend to them that ended up working for you in that creative process?
Yeah, gosh, if I could go back, I would say definitely block your time a little bit better than I did. I essentially ended up doing it on my own time. And because anybody out there running a nonprofit, I mean, typically you're working at least 50 hours a week anyway. It's not like a 9 to 5 job. And so it was on the weekends when I had time or after work when I had time. And then finally at the very end, I just said, I need to take 3 weeks off, block the
Mm,
time, like off in quotation marks. But
right.
this is one of the other things is I would do sort of half day chunks of writing here and there where I would go to like a friend who had a little mother in law house that she had behind her house and she would let me write there. And we had a board member who has a little cottage and I would write there. So getting away and getting
Mm,
like out of my own
yes.
environment and definitely not at work, that was super key. But at the end, I had to just rent like what is it, the space where people go when they don't have an office, like
Oh, like
workspace
a
where you get like
WeWork-ish place?
yeah,
Yeah.
so we work essentially. And I just booked like 3 weeks and just wrote full time for 3 weeks to finish it because I just wasn't going to get it done otherwise.
Good for you. Yeah, I had to block out just significant chunks of time and not have anything else on my calendar.
People tried to tell me and I didn't listen. I was stubborn. Like they were right. I have a few friends who are authors and they're like, yeah, but they're authors. Like they like write books and under contract from publishers. I know you're shaking
You're
your
an
head at
author
me.
too. This is
I'm an
part of
author
like
too.
the
Yes.
imposter syndrome that we have to get through of being
So
able to say
true.
like, yes, we can do this. Yes, our stories are worthy of sharing. So did you decide to go with a publisher? Did you hybrid or self-publish?
So to be completely honest, I mean, that's part of the like, I mean, I am really an author. I really did write a book and I love your positivity and like encouragement. But gosh, when we started the process, it was the process of actually publishing. And here I am working with she's a very well known ghostwriter. Like she has a movie out right now that she helped write the story of the Unbreakable Boy. So she's like the real deal. And I figured for sure with her connections, she would have like a literary agent that would help us to get a
Mm,
publisher. Well, not only could we not get picked up by a literary agent, and without a literary agent, you really can't go to one of the big publishing houses. We couldn't get a literary agent and we didn't get a big publishing house. And so we did end up going with, I guess you could call it hybrid publishing. I'm not sure I 100% understand the difference between hybrid publishing and self publishing, but we paid the publisher to Hope House, Colorado, paid the publisher to publish the book and run the first, I think we ran 2,500 books. And after we did that, we worked with a PR company to do the book launch and help
amazing.
us
Okay.
with that's why I get to be here on your amazing show today because we have a wonderful PR coordinator outside of what we have for Hope House. We have our own PR at Hope House, but we needed someone specialized in working with authors and getting a book out there. And so one of the things they've helped us do is get on podcasts. So it's been super fun.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I want to dive into so much of this. Yes, that was hybrid. I did the same thing. I paid a publisher to do the editing, to do the cover design, it was like a package that you can pay for instead of going the traditional publishing route. I also wanted to do that. And I think, which is great because you own your IP. You own the rights to the book. So one
Good
difference
point.
we talked about a little bit beforehand was I just came out with the audiobook. If you had published through a traditional publisher, they wouldn't have necessarily asked you if you wanted to read it. They would have just put somebody else on it and you wouldn't have had the ability to really have a say. Like you kind of could, but they would be like, nope, we're going to have somebody else read it. And they could have put a guy as the person reading your book. Like,
Yeah, which wouldn't have made sense.
which wouldn't have made sense, wouldn't have been authentic, but that's the business of bookmaking in that world. Whereas with hybrid and self-publishing, you have complete autonomy over the IP of your book, which I think is really important. So leaning on this, like you literally being here, yes, I did get pitched with an email from obviously a publicist. How else have you been distributing it since last June? And what's the effect been from that?
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, podcasts have been huge. I've been probably doing 1 to 2 podcasts a week. We did a
Wow.
big book launch. So, I mean, we have a natural audience because we have like 6,000 people in our database that are supporters of Hope House. So we have a natural audience just from that perspective. So we pitched through a big book launch with all of our, like a bunch of folks who are actually in the book because they've been a
Oh,
part of Hope House
cool.
from beginning. And then family and friends, but also a lot of our champions. We call our donors champions at Hope House. So we had this big book launch. I will say I feel very, very blessed. I'm not entirely sure how an individual would afford to do this, frankly, all on their own. It made it easier. And it was a huge blessing that we had a champion who kind of underwrote me having the ghostwriter and doing
Amazing.
the publicist route and all of that. So it's not cheap. I mean, we probably have spent somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000 between the ghostwriter, the publishing, the
Yeah.
parties, the kind of the PR that we've done. So it hasn't been an inexpensive road. And I'm sure there are probably less expensive ways to go, but having someone hold my hand is what made this even possible because I have such a big job to do outside of this work. So I would say the biggest way it is spread is really through locally is through our own champions, but then in other places outside of Denver, Colorado has really been through podcasts.
Amazing. Okay. So I want to dive into that fundraising story a little bit. Did you approach the champions to say, hey, I've written a book. This is what we'd like to do, but we need your support to spread it out into the world? Or was it more of like a private conversation with a group of people that they just came to you with this generosity? How did that happen? Because I'm sure other organizations are brainstorming the same thing of like, how do we make this happen?
Yeah. I mean, back when my husband and my board member were like, this is something you have to do. Like, you have to tell these stories. And we happen to have had the most beautiful and amazing woman who has now passed away named Donna Weiner, who was one of our champions. And many years ago, probably at least 10 years ago, she offered to help write the story of Hope House. And so I had given her my journals. I had never given my
Oh,
journals to anyone. There's like, personal stuff in there too about my struggles with like leadership and my struggles with just on the day to day. How do you make this decision? Which all ended up being good things to put in the book, frankly. But she took all my journals and she set out to try to write the story of Hope House. Not my story, but the story of Hope House. And eventually, after like 2 years, she was just like, Lisa, I'm a journalist by trade. I write in vignettes. I just can't do it. I can't do the story arc, really, is what it came down to. And she felt so bad. She was like, I have to give the journals back. I don't think that I can, I can't do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you do not have to feel bad. It'll get written when it's supposed to get written.
yeah.
I still wasn't thinking that I would write it. It will get written when it's supposed to get written. And I mean, I just love what you've done so far. And we'll put that all together and set it aside. And when the day comes, it'll still be there. So about a year later, her husband, when I started finally coming to the point of like, oh, maybe I need to write it. And I was just telling her and her husband about this. He called me and said, we want to give you $25,000 to
Wow.
write this book. We want to see this happen. Like, that's going to be part of our legacy, is telling this story. Even though Donna didn't end up finishing writing the book, it's dedicated to Bill and Donna because they really just stepped out in faith and said, we want to see this happen. We want to see this done. So they donated $25,000 and then Hope House has
Amazing.
invested the rest. Yeah.
That's incredible. And this just goes to show like it's out there. You built the relationship, you were having the natural conversation, and the generosity was there. And I think this is such a big point where sometimes, I mean, in that case, you didn't have to ask. But in the other cases, I think donors just like want to be asked for things like this. Like they love clearly the organization and the mission of what you're doing. And if you had needed to ask, they would have said yes. Not all donation forms are created equal, and not every campaign needs the same kind of giving experience. That's exactly why I had to share what I donate breaks down in this blog, the 4 types of online donation experiences. You can click the link in the show notes to read it through. Now, whether you're running a fast-paced social campaign for, let's say, Giving Tuesday, a storytelling-rich landing page, or a major gift appeal, there's the right format to match the moment. Think of it as pairing the right tool with the right emotion. This guide helps you align your donation format with your campaign strategy so you can inspire action, not just clicks. You can head to idonate.com/blog or click the direct link in the show notes to read it now and start creating giving experiences that actually convert. since the release of the book and doing the podcast, have you seen like an amplification in the mission? Is there any specific things that the team is tracking, website view, like anything on that side? Are you being asked to speak in engagements? Any emails like about the book and it being read and like hearing from people? Like what has happened in, I guess we're almost coming up to a year since the original launch?
So some of the things I love the most is I have an author page, which I didn't even know that was a thing, but our publicist helped us kind of understand, what an author page is. And now that's all transitioned to my team here at Hope House. And so I have an amazing young lady that takes care of my author page for me because I'm pretty hopeless at social media. So she's teaching me. But I absolutely love reading the comments. Like people will write things back like, wow, I've wanted to do something, whatever, XYZ thing, and didn't feel like I was equipped or I didn't have the courage to just say yes and go do it. And it's like so humbling for people to write back their feedback and say, wow, this really inspired me to say yes, to go do something that I've been feeling called to do. That has been so gratifying. Like I love getting to communicate with. So on the Hope House side, it's like old home week or something. It's like so cool to have people that have known Hope House for 20 years or more. And then, newer people to Hope House who read the book and they're like, wow, I had no idea. Like I knew what Hope House did and I knew about the moms, but I didn't know the depth of their courage and the work that they put in to break the cycle of poverty.
Oh, I just had an idea for you. Listeners, before the call, we were talking about monthly giving. Do you, for your monthly donors, have they all received a copy of the book?
Not all of them, no.
That is a great
idea.
To send them in the mail as a thank you for becoming a monthly donor. Here's a copy of the book. We're so excited to have you part of the mission. You should do that moving forward.
I love that. I love that. Boom, done. I love that, Dana. That is such an awesome idea. I have given lots of copies to our teenage moms, and we've had a ton of our own champions buy the book publicly, like on Amazon. I think it's sold like 300 copies or something like that, but we've probably sold, a couple thousand just to our own champions and folks who are close to Hope House. But I love where you're going with this because I think giving the book to some of our champions, particularly our monthly donors, our monthly champions, that is such a brilliant idea because it connects you so powerfully to the mission and the true depth of the work that our teenage moms are doing to really honestly to break that cycle of poverty for their kids. Like the stories are incredible.
Yeah, if you can find, like we were just talking about, a champion that supported the initial launch, if there's someone who is like, I'll buy the next 500 books. I'll buy the next 100 books. Like,
absolutely.
To share with our new donors that are joining us on a recurring basis. I mean, how powerful is that? You mentioned like the 300, and look, my book is also, it's a trade book. A book that's meant for monthly giving in the nonprofit sector is not meant to have millions. I guess there's 1 point something million nonprofits in the United States, but not every organization is going to buy it. It's meant to reach a select niche group of people and cause ripple effects in that specific community. So
I love that.
One great example is, I can't even believe that I get to say this, but I'm speaking in Italy because in June, because of this podcast and because of my book. Like,
wow.
I had a call with the people in Italy, and on the Zoom call, they held up a copy of the book, and I was like blown away.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Blown away. So those are the types of things, like listener, that I hope you're getting from this is like, not only does Lisa's internal champions board want to support her in doing this and finance it, but just the incredible growth and amplification within your niche. Like, I think we see New York Times bestsellers that sell millions of copies, and we have like those expectations of like that is success with the book, and that's not true. Like, your 300 copies, the local copies, that's creating the local, regional, national ripples that it needs to.
Yes.
And I cannot tell you, there's no way, like during this conversation with you on a podcast, if you were to speak in a 45-minute session, there's no way I would be able to get as deep with you as your book does.
Right.
There's no way. And so it's that, like, I said this in the interview that I had with Allison Trollbridge, my publisher, like, it is the most impactful business card that you can hand to somebody. is a book.
Such a good point. Such a good point. I love that. And I guess I've kind of come to, I started out feeling like I must not have done a very good job of writing this if it can't be like published by a big publisher or whatever. And then came to like spend some time with God on that one. And I'm like, no, this is the plan. And there's a reason why. I love your point about the IP. Also, it's on your timeline. When you
Mm-hmm.
self-publish or hybrid publish, like if we'd had a publisher who'd said to me, you have to do XYZ by these dates, like they're kind of driving the bus in telling you
Right.
how it's going to go and what you're going to do and when. Like that doesn't work for me. We're beginning a national expansion project, and the book is a
Cool.
big part of that. And so I've realized it has to be sort of organic. It doesn't necessarily matter to me how much time it takes. Like
Yeah.
it really has to be pretty organic. So we had a woman reach out from Kansas City who had picked up the book somehow. I don't even know how. And she was like, hey, we need a Hope House in Kansas City. Like we need to do this in my community. And that's really what one of the big things we hoped for from the book is that, I mean, I want people to say yes to whatever. It might be something small, like you just keep feeling you should volunteer for something and you haven't done it yet. But it also might be something big, like you should
Yeah.
start a Hope House. Like your community needs a Hope House for the teen moms who live near you. And so who knows where that will go.
Yeah.
But kind of that organic growth of when you say thought leadership, yeah, like, yes, getting to tell the story on. I love being on your podcast. So I've been on a lot of podcasts and I absolutely love all of them. I love the storytelling aspect of most of them. Most podcasts really seem mostly we're talking about like having been a teen mom and starting something and sort of my story. But speaking to other leaders, like really
Mm.
fires me up. Like I get to go speak at the Colorado Prayer Luncheon because of the book, which is about 1,100 people from across our state who get together. And that'll be the largest audience I've ever spoken in front of before. It's so
Exciting.
exciting and nerve wracking, but very exciting as well. It's like you said, just waiting for the ripple effects.
Make sure that that's going to be on video.
We do have our videographer coming. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. Videographer, photos, capture that, put that on your author page that you speak on it, all
Yes.
content.
Yes.
So good. No, I appreciate that. And that's what this show is all about, is just like highlighting people like yourself, organizations, and the nitty gritty behind the scenes that we think it's like, oh, a book, like you must have da 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 together. And it's like, nope. For you, it took 6 years. I wrote mine, which is going to probably blow your mind, in 4 weeks. And I just,
Holy moly.
yeah. And then I told my publisher I wanted it published in 4 months. And she looked at me like I was a little crazy, but I was like, we can do it. For other leaders, for other nonprofit professionals who might be considering going down this path and writing a book, what advice would you give them now, a year past launch?
Well, I guess I would say think about your time. Like, think about, I probably could have done a better job of prioritizing or really understanding even what the process would even look like, how much time it would take, and how much you have to put into it to do it well. I highly recommend having someone like you did to at least help you with the outline, even if you don't have a full
Yes.
on ghostwriter. And think about your audience and who it is you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
So, I got probably halfway through writing and realized we had started out writing what was essentially a memoir. And that was kind of the space that Susie Flory plays best in, is memoirs. And then through the process of finding that we weren't going to get picked up by a literary agent and realizing like, really, it's because I have an amazing story and Hope House has an amazing story. But a publisher has to go out and sell tens of thousands of
Right.
books, and tens of thousands of people don't buy memoirs of Lisa Stephen from Arvada, Colorado. They buy like memoirs of like Susie Flory was writing like with astronauts, that had gotten stranded on the space station or whatever, like really stories that like tens of thousands of people will buy. And so we had to change tracks. And I'm so glad we did, because we moved, and it never felt comfortable to me in the first place for it to be a memoir. That seemed so, I don't know, like I was done with whatever I'm doing, which I'm not even close to done yet. So I never felt super comfortable with it, but we really moved more into like women's leadership, and this being more of the angle
Cool.
of being a leader and a woman, and just really so many humbling stories, like leadership stories of learning how to lead people well, and
Yeah.
what leadership really looks like, and how, frankly, just how hard it is, and how honest and authentic you have to be about all the times you fell down. And
Yeah.
very unfortunately, as a leader, when I fall down, typically other people get landed on a little bit. So like when I have big decisions to make when it comes to our budget or what direction we're going to go, that impacts people's livelihood who work for Hope House. And certainly during 2008, when the Great Recession happened, like we had to make crazy hard decisions about letting people go because we just had to. We lost $250,000, had to cut $250,000 out of our budget in 1 month. And
Wow.
that was so painful. I definitely learned more than I ever wanted to know about leadership during that time because I had some incredibly wise advisors around me who helped me and guided me in making the types of decisions we had to make.
You make those for the longevity of the organization that is still standing in here today.
Exactly. But sadly, some of the people who were amazing people who were with us then are not with us now because we had to cut so much out of our budget. So all that to say, I guess my comment would be determining who it is that you're writing to, like who are you telling this story to or for, because that really sharpens your focus of what you're writing and why. Like, why are you writing this? Why is it so critical for people to know or hear?
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, for writing this book. And I wanted to make sure we will put a link to the book in the show notes, A Place to Belong. You can get it, I'm assuming, everywhere that you can order books.
Anywhere you can order books, Amazon is probably the best.
Okay, perfect. And then you also have a podcast.
Yes, we have a podcast. It's called Life Reviewed. So RE in parentheses, Life Reviewed. And the whole kind of idea of the podcast is we have all these assumptions about, well, for sure, people have assumptions about teen moms. They face judgment literally everywhere they go. But we have assumptions about who's a board member. A board member is, ooh, they're intimidating. They're like, they must be the CEO of some major company, like, and they're super remote from the vision or the day-to-day of the ministry. So like all these assumptions we have of so many people, but particularly our teen moms, and just reviewing that, like if we just shift our view just a little bit, it changes the way we think about maybe an entire people group like teen moms.
Yeah. So good. So listen to the podcast, check out the book. Lisa, where can people connect with you individually? LinkedIn? Is that a good platform for you?
Definitely go to LinkedIn, Lisa Stephen with no S on the end. The book is A Place to Belong. And you can go to our website, hopehousecolorado.org, to learn more about Hope House. And you can find me there too.
Amazing. Lisa, thank you again so much for being here and for putting the book out there so that more people can learn about the amazing work and the stories of your life and all of the amazing moms that you've supported over the years. So as from a fellow mom, thank you so much for all you've done.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for the book you wrote. I cannot wait to buy it. I didn't even know about it before this podcast. And now it's like the next thing I'm going to do.
Yay! Everyone go buy books.
Yes.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Missions to Movements. If you enjoyed our conversation and found it helpful, I would love for you to take a moment to leave a review wherever you're listening. Your feedback helps us reach more change makers like you and continue bringing impactful stories and strategies to the show. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button too, so you'll never miss an episode. And until next time, keep turning your mission into a movement.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope it was helpful and valuable to you. And I wanted to let you know my signature program, the Monthly Giving Mastermind, applications are open for the 6th round that will start in July. If you are someone that wants to increase your monthly recurring donations, but just have not had the time, the bandwidth, the people around you to do it, this is the opportunity. You can head to positiveequation.com/mastermind to learn all the details. I have a video that breaks it down. I showcase what we're going over every month. It essentially takes the 5-step framework that I teach in my book and puts it into practice that we do for you. So head to positiveequation.com/mastermind to learn more and apply.